we talked a lot about, right, how to get professional sounding recordings from home. What are the best tactics you can use to get that? But what are there advantages to just coming in? I mean, obviously there's advantages to just coming into a professional studio like this. So, like, how does an artist know when they're ready? What are some things they should be aware of when they're coming into recording at a professional studio, and what are the advantages they get there that you just can't get at home?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point because, first of all, the recording process is not just a fix or not just a more important aspect of the signal chain than another. So it is the room you choose. It is the microphone choice you make, how you place that microphone, how the signal's carried through your equipment, finally, how you treat it through your conversion process to the recorder. Any one of those are compromised, much like a chain. The weakest link is where you're going to have a problem with it. How does an artist know that they would be ready for such a thing? I think that the mistake artists could potentially make is coming in looking to do something, let's say an original song, without experiencing headphones, without experiencing how it sounds, through your headphones, speaking and singing. It's very different. Even seasoned musicians who play out live and then come into the studio have to adjust up. I find when, especially with bands who experience lots of loud sounds, when they're in rehearsal in these warehouses that are not acoustically treated correctly, it's hard for them to hear the real definition of what they're hearing. So when they come into the studio, they're surprised to hear what they hear. And it's this adjustment of the drummer, and this specific drummer I'm thinking about told me it's years and years I'm sitting next to this huge stack of speakers, and now I'm putting a 2-inch speaker on his head, and he wants to get that same feel of the kick drum. It's near impossible, It's relative to what else the other blends you give him in your headphone feed. So yeah, it's experiencing. I think that you can go into the studio, and I can pretty much say this for any facility, for their lowest rate to do something that would be minimal. For instance, karaoke. People call it karaoke. A pre-recorded track. You could be an instrumentalist, a saxophone player, get something to play with, and then experience that, the interaction with the engineer and how the room sounds and how your recording sounds when you come in. Not only is it going to help you in that respect, but it's going to also help shape what you think or how you think it should sound. So then you can communicate with the engineer if you're the artist and say, hey, I want my saxophone to sound more like, or less like. So it depends. There's two different perspectives, the artist's perspective or the engineer's perspective. And I believe your question was from the artist's perspective coming into record. Yeah, I would say the more experience you have prior to doing an original song, the better. Such is the case with a lot of them that come in. I kind of have a mandatory pre-production meeting with them to say, okay, have you done this before? And most of them will say yes, but not in a facility like this. And I'll be like, okay, do you know what to expect with headphones? That kind of helps crack that ice too by having the pre-production meeting. They get to meet you. They get to see the facility.
So that's probably a really great idea for, on the other end, if you're a producer, you're looking to get a client, make sure you have that meeting to get clear on what their vision is. Because, right, you can want to put in all that work and then it's like, oh, I wanted something completely different. So.
Sure.
So how does that go? What are other questions you ask?
Well, a lot of people say, well, what does it take to be a producer? What it takes to be a producer is somebody who knows engineering and understands that genre of music and wants to assemble sounds in such a way to be competitive in that genre, So, when a band would come in or when an artist would come in, I would kind of try to get into their head as to what their vision is. Everybody's got a vision in their mind of what an ideal sound is. Chances are it's not like what your vision is of it, because we're all different in our upbringing and what we're exposed to. So lots of times I'll ask, who do you listen to a lot? I notice that a lot of people don't like to be compared to anybody.
I was going to ask, do you get people telling you that their music's just too unique?
Nothing like anything. And I'm like, so I started with saying, not that I'm comparing your music to any other music, but if you would revere a certain singer in the industry, and it could be of any genre, from opera to pop to rock to rap to whose voice do you think, if this is the singer I'm speaking to, whose voice do you think sounds the best out there?
Mm.
That's a tricky way of getting into
Right.
their head, of finding out texture-wise what they're looking for.
Because likely they've probably been influenced by them, even if they don't
Definitely.
realize it.
Absolutely. Same with guitarists, same with drummers. So then you take those, which very much most times are different perspectives. This one likes the vocals from that type of music. This one likes the drums from that type of music. This one likes the guitar from that type. You put those elements together, and I think that's what creates uniqueness. You're really capitalizing on what they are as individuals, but you've got to have some idea as to what they're thinking. Tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients come in and say, this is what I'm thinking. Listen to my idea that I put down on tape, and I'm listening to it and saying, okay, from my interpretation, from what they're saying, their age, your age has a lot to do too with what you've been exposed to.
Yep.
I think this is going to be the type of direction to take as a production team. And then you ask a question, and then they say, no, I'm thinking more along the lines of, and then they pull up this song. It's complete. It's 180 degrees out of what you're thinking. And yes, so sometimes it's not, you can't 100% or even a fraction of a percentage read them 100. You got to really kind of keep prying and asking and prying and make sure you're targeting what you really need to target.
Okay. Yeah, that's really, definitely. Because I ran into that issue with some of my clients I was working with. Was they would tell me it was one thing and then it ended up being something else. So it's
not uncommon.
Got to keep asking those questions and dig deeper. Hey, if you got value from this video, feel free to drop a like. If you're looking for a proven step-by-step process for consistently producing pro quality music from home, then just grab my free rapid song finishing checklist in the description below. Also, if you're just looking for more tips and tutorials on how to produce pro level music from home, then just check out my playlist or video on the screen right now. All right, have an awesome day and keep creating.